don't think we should be doing activism anymore. I know that I've called myself an activist with regards to the pro-democracy resistance against fascism, but I don't think that we should be doing activism anymore. And I want to talk about what I think we should be doing instead. I actually really like how Counterpunch defines activism. It is being involved in some way in the political struggle, showing up to protests, being activated to resist the regime, right? Activism is a response to some harm that is being done. It is wanting to speak out for justice or social change. Activism is responsive. It brings awareness. It helps give people a connection to their agency, get people involved. But it's just like the first step. It's the first step. And activism doesn't actually really create lasting social change. Just like showing up to No King's Day on a Saturday is a good first step. It's a good entry point for people into involvement in the resistance. No King's Day events on their own are not going to stop fascism. No King's Day events on their own, family-friendly 3-hour protests on a Saturday, are not going to get the fascists to lay down. What they are is recruitment events. What they are is events to show the world that, like, hey, the resistance is everywhere. We're here. We are myriad. Come join us. They are about inviting people in and giving them a very low level, right? An easy ask for their first attempt to resist fascism. Because you guys, in the United States, like, we may think that we're old hats now, but think back to November of 2024, December of 2024. How many of you had ever in your life had to actively resist a fascist government before? Most Americans would say no, and people have to start somewhere. But those kinds of No King's Day events don't actually disrupt the system, and so they don't actually topple the authoritarian at all. They don't disrupt the system sufficiently to create lasting change. And likewise, activism has its place. It has its place, but it doesn't actually move us toward a different and better future. Instead, what we need to do is organizing. I told y'all this was going to be the year where I talked about organizing and also folded in the importance of the labor movement quite a bit. So, organizing, it says we don't want to just react to what the regime is doing. We don't just want to be angry at injustice and speak out against, climate change and labor exploitation, et cetera, et cetera. What we want to do is build power locally in order to enact systemic change, in order to get the kinds of policies and reforms that we, the people, need. I'll drop a link in the video description, but there's a really good short article from Counterpunch from 2015 by Max Wilbert. And I love this line from it. Organizing requires attention to the smallest details and the broadest overview. You know what that sounds like to me? The permaculture principle of design from patterns to details. We need to have the big picture, the holistic view of where we want to be going. And then we have to step into the work of designing through those small details, through those actionable steps, how we get that bigger picture to become reality. Max goes on to say, organizing takes a great deal of strategic thinking, critical self-evaluation, people skills, and persistence. I would argue that much of the foundation of permaculture and its 12 principles is about organizing all of society for not only regeneration and resilience, but also abundance. And so very much like my understanding of permaculture and my understanding of how to apply those 12 principles overlaps a ton with community organizing, because it is all about, for both permaculture philosophy and also organizing strategy, it's about enacting lasting change that helps fight injustice, helps make a better world, helps provide a good quality of life for us, the people. There's another great piece from back in 2018 from Organizing Work that talks about activism. It says, activism is based on an abstract opposition in principle, rather than an attempt to obtain concrete concessions from the people in power. Activists are usually bonded not by common economic or social interests, but by political or subcultural affinities. I'm getting ready to fly out of the country tomorrow. If you're watching this, I'm in Europe. So I'm not going to have time to make a more extensive series on this subject right now, not tonight, but I want to talk about this concept of organizing versus activism a lot more in the coming weeks. Because activism often lacks long-term solutions for the struggles that we're involved in, and people often burn out in activist groups. I've talked quite a bit about burnout lately. We often see people come in with lots of energy and they're angry and they're motivated by hope and or anger or fear, and then they burn out very quickly because they're just against something. With organizing, you are for the world that you want to create. You are for something, you are planning, and you are building together. And one of the things about organizing is that it happens best on a hyper local level, which is again that permaculture concept, right? We are focusing on hyper local change. We are designing for the needs of our immediate community because that's where we have the most ability to do good. That's where we have the most influence and where we can use our energy and skills most efficiently and effectively. And I am, for the second time in a week, going to reference a video that I made to a creator, The Real Corn Pop, back in January, where he was talking about how you have to curate your vote in the midterm general election based on abolishing ICE. And I was like, at the time, I was like, that's a terrible take, because you really should curate your vote in the primary. If you want to push the party to the left, then your chance to do that is in the primary. You can't wait until you get to the general election and your choice is a literal fascist who is like all in on an ethnic cleansing, all in on bombing school kids in Iran, or like an establishment Democrat, because you waited until those were your only choices. Sorry, we have an entrenched two-party system right now. Although I would continue to argue, as I have for many, many years, for a Tea Party style takeover of the Democratic Party. We're seeing that a little bit with DSA candidates right now. But I actually wasn't nuanced enough. I wasn't accurate in my response to Corn Pop. And I want to kind of amend my explanation because I was clumsy at the time, I think. I didn't go back far enough. The primaries are not early enough, and that's not the right move. I was talking with my husband on a walk, like looking south of me in Janelle Bynum's district, and thinking about how people are mad that she is not far left enough, right? She's quite moderate. She's had a number of fairly conservative positions as a Democrat. And people are like, we should have voted her out in the primary and we should have run somebody far more progressive. And the criticism against that is that you are in a purple district where a lot of the voters are Republicans who voted for Janelle because even though she's a Democrat, she's a moderate one. And if you run candidates from the Democratic Party who are not as left as the constituents they hope to represent, they won't get elected. So how do you push the party left? How do you push the country left? How do you build for change through our elected officials in a circumstance like that? You do it through community organizing. If you want people to support a progressive, abolish ICE, get rid of AIPAC, overturn Citizens United, expand the Supreme Court, get us universal health care kind of candidate, then you have to persuade the voters, because you guys, we're the ones with the power. The power has always resided in us, the voters, not in any one particular candidate. It's about going and speaking, developing relationships. Like organizing is about developing relationships with people who live in your community, teaching them about the issues, having conversations, listening to their lived experience, listening to their concerns and their struggles, finding commonality and building solidarity as working class people. And that's difficult because you have to build solidarity with people who don't have political views like you. You have to go reach out to people who probably voted for Donald Trump, probably would not vote for a progressive Democratic or DSA candidate. And you have to talk to them about the issues. You have to persuade people. When you have persuaded a sufficient number of voters to want to support universal health care, to want to support taxing billionaires out of existence, then you can elect candidates from that district because you have enough people who believe in those policy positions that they will vote for a candidate who is advocating for such positions. So see, I wasn't quite right. That creator was totally wrong in that you should curate your vote in the general election, but I wasn't quite right saying that you should actually work in the primaries. It starts much earlier. Organizing says you work in your community. You work in your community to build lasting change. And that's far harder. It takes far more skills. It takes far more ability to interact with people who have different views than you, to find the ways that you share the same struggle, to connect with people that you otherwise would maybe never interface with, and to work to understand them, to have empathy for them, and to work to bring them alongside you in what is our shared struggle as working class people. So yeah, I don't think we should be doing activism. I think we need to be doing organizing, and that's a lot harder. It's a lot harder because we can't say FAFO for MAGA. We can't do Republican makeup trends. We have to actually stop mocking the working class people in our communities and start educating them, start building real relationships with them, listening to their needs, understanding their lived experience, and then organizing together with them to get change.